The appropriate time to we'll call the April meeting of the Wood County Board of Supervisors to order. We do have a few supervisors joining us virtually this morning. Supervisors Bry, Valentine, Hamilton, and not virtually, but Supervisor Holkamp will vote by voice vote due to a technological difficulty with iPads. All right. The clerk has taken the roll, and then I would ask Vice Chair Fisher to come forward for the invocation. I'd ask you to please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you would be so kind to pray with me, please. Lord, I pray for my colleagues, and I thank you for each of them. I ask that you impart wisdom upon each of us as we seek to be servant leaders who serve the people of Wood County with humility. Give each of us confidence to boldly represent what we believe is right, but always in a spirit of compassion for those whom we disagree. I ask, as always, that you help us to remember those less fortunate here in Wood County, and may we always be an advocate for each of them as you are an advocate for us. I also pray for our military and law enforcement officers. Please keep them safe as they seek to keep us safe. I pray all of this in your name. Amen.
Please join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor Fisher. First thing on our agenda today is the minutes from the previous meeting. I entertain a motion to approve by LaFontaine, a second by Zerflu. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Aye. Now we'll try opposed. I forgot I have those people virtually opposed, and I don't believe if anybody's opposed, then that will carry. Excusals today, we have none. Resignations, we have none. And then under appointments or reappointments, the Wood County Library Board to a 3-year term, I'd like to appoint Fran Cherney and Susan Feet. I would entertain a motion to that effect. I saw Wagner and Zerf flew first, so we'll go that route. Is there any discussion here? Any discussion? Again, all in favor, please signify by aye.
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 Aye. Close enough. Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you. Public comment today. Do we have any public comment? Any public comment? If you would come forward to the microphone, state your name, and we'll get, that microphone there, and then just give us a minute here. We have a 3-minute time frame on those, and the clerk will have that up in front of you so you can see that.
My name is Tim Zander. I reside in the...
We're going to get you on the mic here. There we go.
My name is Tim Zander. I reside in the 16th District. And I was disheartened by the state Supreme Court's decision stripping Governor Evers of his power to renew the mask mandate in Wisconsin. The decision was not unexpected and seems to be just another step in seizing power for the legislature, which seems to be very unlikely to take action for our safety, even as we face a 4th wave of COVID infections. The decision does allow, however, for county and local governments to impose their own mask mandates. Portage County recently issued a mask order valid through June 11th, and Outagamie County did as well, and Green Bay has extended theirs. We have seen recent upticks in infection rates in more than half of the states in this country, including Wisconsin. And in Wood County alone, we have seen an increase of 178%, that's as of Sunday, over the last 2 weeks. And there are more COVID patients in hospitals in Wood County right now than there were 2 weeks ago. So in spite of statements by some that the end of the pandemic is in sight, this virus is not done with us yet. Health experts from Dr. Fauci right down to our local health officers uniformly agree that wearing masks is one of the steps that we can take in beating the coronavirus, even after being vaccinated. I believe that we live in a society where individual actions can influence the welfare of everyone, and that we all have a responsibility to act in such a way. And I further believe that government has a legitimate role in ensuring that we do so. I would like to encourage the Wood County Board consider instituting a countywide mask mandate for the duration of the pandemic. It would help in several ways. Number one, citizens would be reminded of their obligation to protect each other by our individual actions. Number two, businesses could be given an additional reason to enforce their own mask requirements and have some extra support in their attempts. Number three, the county would demonstrate its leadership role in promoting public safety and health. And lastly, it would depoliticize the act of wearing a mask, making mask wearing simply a civil and kind act. I am therefore asking the Wood County Board of Supervisors to establish a mask mandate for our county until our infection rates reach an acceptable and sustained level, or until the CDC tells us it is safe for all of us to unmask. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment this morning? Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none and moving on. Acknowledgements and recognitions. This is Work Zone Awareness Week in Wood County. That's, or will be, April 26th through April 30th. So encourage all those people out there that are driving along to be careful, be cognizant of those people working on our roads out there. We do not want to see any accidents or fatalities here in Wood County. We will get into the packet, and then today we have a special order of business on the READY plan. Jason Grudenberg is going to do that when we get to the packet. As you saw the packet today, barely could carry this up 3 floors. I think it weighs 5 or 6 pounds. It's about 350 pages long, but the vast majority of that are reports. There's only 5 resolutions in this packet. So with that said, we will move into the packet here. And we will start, well, I guess I can start with the referrals. There was one from Sheboygan County and one from Portage County. Those were referred to the proper committees. And then we'll go to page 7 of your packet, which is the Operations Committee meeting of Tuesday, April 6th. And that is on page 7 and 8. We have the monthly letter of comments from the county clerk on 9. Is there anything you wanted to add, Trent? This new system or anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. You have a little different look in front of you, but everything operates about the same. The monthly letter of comments from the Human Resources Department, beginning on page 10 and running through page 15. From the Treasurer's Office on 16. Employee Wellness on 17. And then that brings us to the first 3 resolutions in the packet, which are all budget amendment resolutions. Is there any objection to taking those 3 resolutions as one? Any objection? All right, seeing none, I ask the clerk to please read those 3 resolutions.
This will be Resolution 21-4-1, to amend the 2021 budget to include monies that were amended in Resolution 21-3-2 from wrong function for provider relief funding related to compensatory time payout. Fiscal note, no additional cost to Wood County. The total transfer equals $26,195. Resolution 21-4-2, to amend the Land and Water Conservation Department 2021 budget function for the purpose of carrying over funds for the countywide nitrate sampling effort of private wells in 2021 and beyond until all funds are used. Fiscal note, to transfer $3,698 from the 2020 Land and Water Conservation Department budget to the 2021 Land and Water Conservation budget. Resolution 21-4-3. The intent of this resolution is to transfer the funds previously budgeted in Branch 3 Drug Court budget to be a part of the Criminal Justice Coordinator budget. There will be no change in the amount of budgeted funds or the use of those funds. However, budgeted funds will move within expenditure categories as outlined at the end of this resolution. Fiscal note is none.
Thank you, Trent. I have a motion by Supervisor Wagner, a second by Supervisor LaFontaine. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? I would ask you to please vote.
Hamilton, aye. Wright, aye.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Laura, are you an aye? Maybe that's a leading. Got it. Maybe that was a leading question. And those resolutions passed unanimously. Thank you. All right, back to the packet. Page 22 and 23, March 25th minutes of the Health and Human Services Committee. Again, 22 and 23. North Central, the Board of Directors, North Central Community Action on 24, 25, and 26. And as you can see, our new appointment to that committee is Supervisor Valentine. The Health Department's update, beginning on page 27 and running through page 30. Questions there? The Human Services Department, beginning with Director Bruinks at page 31, and those run through page 39. Supervisor Rosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this on? Yeah. In light of the public comment, I wonder, I think Health Officer Kunferman is on the line. I wondered if she could give a few words about an update for the COVID in light of the public comments that we had today, please.
Sorry.
Hi, everybody. Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, excellent. So I know some jurisdictions have been issuing face covering advisories, they're called. I don't believe Portage County's is an official order, and Marathon County as well has issued what they call an advisory, which basically encourages individuals to continue to wear face coverings, but there's no enforcement or penalties connected to those. And so those types of orders, I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but sometimes they're sort of feel-good orders that don't have a lot of teeth behind them. So I did want to mention that. We have been continuing to provide education and via social media and other means, encouragement to the public to continue to wear face coverings. We know that they work and that they're effective. We also know that we have had at least one case of the B117 variant strain diagnosed in a Wood County residence, and there's been about 300 of those cases statewide. We also know that those are spread more easily and not necessarily covered by the vaccine. So we definitely want to continue to encourage people to wear face coverings. So I guess I would leave it at that. And maybe just mention one more thing. Over the last 3 days, we've had a total of 15 cases of COVID in Wood County. So we had a little bit of a spike, and it seems to be tapering off once again. We currently have 35 active cases countywide. And I believe last week we had more like 65 active cases countywide.
Thank you, Director Kunferman. I'll go to first Supervisor Clendenning and then Wagner. Supervisor Clendenning.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the light of all of this, it seemed rather unusual that I met with the judges and they have their mask on and the same question was asked. Well, we don't have a mask mandate. And surprisingly enough, he said, we have to do what the Supreme Court tells us to do. Isn't that disgusting that the Supreme Court ruled the way they did, but at the same time they tell their judges and people that are in a courthouse, you have to wear a mask. Thank you.
I'd like to say
Supervisor Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I ask Director Kunferman for a brief overview of how we're doing in Wood County on vaccinations?
Sure. Sue, you caught that?
Yes, I did catch that. Let's see, it's been a couple days since I looked at that data, but I believe for the 65 plus population in Wood County, we do have over 70% of them vaccinated. That's the 65 plus population. It does sort of taper off when you go down the age groups from there. In addition, we have not received any Pfizer vaccine, and that is the one that is available for 16 and 17-year-olds. So the health department has only been able to vaccinate those 18 and older. We are seeing a decreased demand for vaccine. We're having a hard time filling our clinics. And what we recall a few weeks ago, we had a waiting list of approximately 3,000 people. So we worked through that waiting list, and we're just really trying to do a lot of outreach through social media and other means to get people to come to our clinic. People are able to schedule online now, so if they go to the Wood County website, it's pretty clear where you need to click. People can schedule their own appointments very quickly online, so I would encourage people to do that if they've not yet been vaccinated. But I'm hearing from our two large health systems as well that they are also seeing a decline in demand for the vaccine. So we will continue to try to educate the public and push that out and see what happens with Johnson & Johnson. We have a bunch of that sitting in our refrigerator. So just keep moving forward and doing our best to get as many people vaccinated as we can.
Thank you, Sue. I had that conversation with her the other day, and that is one of the issues now. Some of this is Those who have just opted out of the opportunity to get vaccinated. We're having a very difficult time filling the slots that we have available right now. And I'm guessing that that's going to continue in that direction just because the rest of them have some vaccine hesitancy. So we'll keep monitoring that, and thank you very much for the update.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
This is for Sue also. Just curious where you're getting your vaccination numbers from. I'm just wondering if people who are getting vaccines out of the county or other locations, are they included in their numbers?
Yes, they are included. I've been going to the Wisconsin Department of Health Services website. They have a vaccine dashboard, so you can look at the vaccination rates by county, and then it breaks it down by age groups and race, ethnicity, by gender. So that's where I've been looking, and it does go by county of residence. So when somebody receives a vaccine, that information goes into the Wisconsin Immunization Registry by address, and then that's where DHS is pulling their data from.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Lightman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make this brief. In light of the public comment this morning and the discussion that's ensued, the one thing I'd like to share with my fellow supervisors is that everything being said, if Portage County is extending a mask mandate, and this is being presented as an option to Wood County by Mr. Zander, we have to consider the example and the precedent that we would set by doing that. My feeling is, what harm can it do? So if this has to go to committee, so be it, but I'd like fellow supervisors to consider that, the example and the precedent it would set.
Thank you, Supervisor. I'm sure the Human Services, Health and Human Services Committee will have that discussion. Anything further? I'm on pages 31 to 39, the Human Services. Supervisor Zerflu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Everybody can always hear me. I kind of speak loudly. I wanted the discussion to be over. I have a procedural question to ask. We had a resident give a comment on an item under public comments. It is my understanding that any supervisor could ask that person a question, but we're not allowed to enter into debate. And now we have spent about 15 minutes on a politically charged area of discussion, which is, we all know it is. Some say, well, no, they don't help. Yes, they do help as far as mask goes. So I think we should, in the future, check with court counsel to see if my statement is right. This is basically an illegal discussion that we had at this time, and I find it nowhere on our agenda. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Floyd. I think this started from that point. I won't argue where it goes, but I think this was based on an update that Supervisor Rosar asked from our health officer, just to comment, probably led by the other discussion, but nonetheless. Supervisor Zerflu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that defense is very weak, sir. I want to have that on the record. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right, any other questions on 31 to 39? Any other questions? All right, the Veteran Service Officers report on 40 and 41. Minutes of the Wood County Public Safety Committee, 42, 3, 4, and 5. That's their meeting of March 8th. We have reports from the Humane Officer beginning in January through February, beginning on 46 and running through page 50. We have the monthly report from the Sheriff's Department, again, page 51 through 79, 51 through 79. Anybody have any questions on any of those? Page 80, going to the seed minutes from April 7th, beginning on page 80. And those run through 85, page 80 through 85. Any questions there? The ITBEC minutes from January 28th, 86 through 90. 86 through 90. And then we have the report from Extension, beginning on 91. And that runs through page 97, VW Extension. We have the staff report from Land and Water beginning on 98, and that runs through 103. 98 through 103. Page 104 begins the staff report from our Planning and Zoning Office, Director Grunenberg's. That's page 104 as a start, runs through page 109. Minutes of the Citizens Groundwater Group meeting of Monday, March 15th on 110 and 111. Beginning on page 112, it's basically the information regarding the Cranberry Creek landfill drafted by Corp Counsel Kastenholz. Just some general information there, 112 through 122. Anybody have any questions there? You have a map there on page 123, the beer licensee group. The map that was put together is that project developed. Page 124, 5 and 6 is the Wisconsin County Forest Association. There's a report there. Some of this is talking about the opportunities that will exist or that may possibly exist with the operation of the mill or getting that open again, some of that information there. There's the Wood County Economic Development Funding Requests, pages 127 through 131. 127 through 131. Does anybody have any questions about that? And then there's additional information 132 and 133 in regard to the funding requests. Anybody have any questions on that stuff? We're going through this pretty quick, but these are mostly reports that you had the opportunity to read. All right, the Economic Development Recovery Minutes of February 25th and of 3/11, beginning on 134 and running through 138. I guess the one thing I wanted to comment on here was the number of people within the community from all the different organizations who have participated in helping us through this process, and their participation is greatly appreciated. And that goes through 134, or I'm sorry, through 138. Now the question is, I get to the ready plan. Do you want to run through the entire packet first and then do that, or would you like to have the update on the plan here? Go through the packet? I see my clerk shaking his head, so.
Do it now.
Do it now?
Yeah, do it.
Do it now.
Okay. Jason, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. This is the Rural Economic Development Initiative. Again, participation for people all over the town. Many walks of life and different organizations participated in this process over a long period of time. The plan is in your packet, runs from page 139 to, geez, what are we at? 175. 139 to 175. Jason, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to thank the board for giving me the time today, and Nancy Turek from UW Extension to talk about the READY Plan, which is Wood County's first economic development strategy that we've ever put in place. So it's really a big step for Wood County. Before I get too far along here, I want to make sure Nancy Turek is able to participate too. She's at some point going to be taking on a presentation. I'll turn it over to her. So we'll kind of get the technology rolling here. Is that going to work, Trent?
Where's Lisa?
Okay, well, I'll let them work on that, and I'll speak here.
She should be able to share her presentation right now.
Okay. Nancy, can you?
All right, I'll work on that.
Okay, thanks, Nancy. So this is
Sure.
this probably isn't the first time you've seen the plan. I think it's pretty much been on the CEED agenda, the Conservation, Education, and Economic Development Committee agenda for the last probably a year and a half, from the stage where we first talked about. From the stage where we first talked about applying for a USDA grant to get some help with developing an economic development strategy for the county. And then along the way, we pretty much kept the CEED committee up to speed on where the progress was. And I think about 2 months ago, we sent the first full draft by the CEED committee, and they've recommended approval by the full county board to move this forward. All the board members should have received a copy at your desk here. There also are some copies in the middle aisle, last row there, if you'd like to grab a paper copy. It also should be in the county board packet, or it is in the county board packet as well, so you should add some time to review it in advance. One thing I'd recommend, if you haven't had a chance to review this lengthy document, it was a large packet. One good summary of what's included in the plan, some initiatives that will be taken on are included on page 5. So if you want to, look real quick at some point at that, you'll get a real, a good idea of what some initiatives that'll be taken on as far as economic development in the county as we look to stabilize our economy and grow our economy as we ramp things up after COVID and try to rebuild our local economy here in Wisconsin Rapids after the Verso mill closure last year. So that's a real good reference if you take a look at that. I guess one of the real reasons the seat committee wanted county staff to pursue an economic development strategy is we were kind of spinning our wheels, we felt. We were doing things, we weren't sure they were the right things. And the committee realized we have limited staff to move this project forward and limited finances. So they really want to provide some focus on what we pursue in the future as far as economic development goes. Another thing that the committee realized too, when it comes to funding, I think we've all seen at the county level the struggle we go through every year with budgeting. There's limited county resources as far as funding. And the committee felt that if we had a strategy in place, we could use this strategy to help leverage outside funding sources from like the federal government and also the state. So that's another main reason this plan was put together. I think one thing I want to say here, almost as important as the plan itself is the process that was used. This wasn't a plan that I put together myself or me and a few other county staff. There's about 40 different people involved with this process here, and it's really a great collaborative effort. And I really want to thank everybody that participated in this process. And I want to say, I look forward to working with them as we move forward to implementation. I know one thing that people will say or have concern about, they look at the plan and everything in here and they're like, how can that be done by county staff? Well, it's not going to be done by just county staff. We're going to participate, but we're also leveraging the resources from other local, state, federal resources as far as implementation goes. And Nancy will kind of call some of those other groups out later on here. A quick summary, the individuals that did participate were on page 1 and also on page 4 and page 5. So that kind of gives you an idea of the collaborative process that was used over the course of the last year and a half and the hundreds and maybe thousands of hours that went into this. At this point, I'm going to turn over to Nancy, and she's going to provide a little bit of background on the process and cover some of the goals and objectives that are included in the plan. And then after that, we're going to open up for some questions. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Nancy. You all set, Nancy?
Thanks, Jason. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to give Lisa a moment to comment if she'd like. She's sending messages, but they're only staying up for about a second. I can't read them that quickly. So is there something you would like to say?
You're on very far, grade 3 lacking your presentation.
I have what?
You have a large...
Grade 3 lacking your presentation.
I don't know what to do about that. I don't see that.
Let's roll.
Okay. So I'll just make sure that I'm talking through this so that you're not missing anything. There's nothing great to see on the slides anyway. So good morning, everyone. I wanted to provide a little bit of background on the READY plan. Jason covered much of this, but the planning process was funded through a grant that we received through the USDA Rural Economic Development Initiative. Those funds did not come to the county. They were utilized to provide assistance to the planning process by extension faculty at Purdue University, and then later they engaged UW-Madison Extension as well to ensure that we have support moving forward after Purdue is done with us. So the Purdue staff will continue to provide assistance through September in terms of webinars that'll help us with the move into the implementation process and identifying needed funding for some of the initiatives, although very few of the initiatives required additional funding. The process was kicked off in December of 2019 and continued, kind of went on hiatus for part of the pandemic as we focused on reaching out to businesses and the sort. During the pandemic, we resumed in September of 2020 and completed our planning process in January of this year. We tried to ensure that the team that was doing the planning, that the composition was similar to the county demographics in terms of gender, race, ethnicity, and that sort of thing. And we had at least 24 people involved in the READY team, and that will expand as we move into implementation. So this is a quick list of all the folks that were involved in the process. It ranged from people representing municipalities, school districts, businesses, the chambers, visitor and convention bureau, and then of course our seat committee and educational institutes and department heads. So lots of folks at the table with lots of different perspectives. I'm just going to brief through our primary initiatives that had been identified. Since you have copies of the plan, you can see the detail that the working groups put into how to implement each of the strategies. And I will mention that we laid out strategies in December prior to the pandemic, and when we resumed in September, we did question, do we need to change these strategies because of the impacts of the pandemic? And the business committee and the group decided to move ahead with what they had. They felt that they were very much priority initiatives and would help post-pandemic as well. So one of the goals is to develop a diverse and a sustainable economy in Wood County. And to do that, the team felt that they needed to provide some focus and better support for an entrepreneurial ecosystem, which means we get together the financial institutes, the chambers, all the people that already provide support, and kind of refine that so it's more of a one-stop shopping if someone has a good idea and would like to explore starting a business. Transforming the economic development network to a more collaborative group, and just going through the process of developing this plan has gone a long ways in terms of developing the collaboration and communication between the economic development groups that serve Wood County. Another goal was more focused on quality of life in the county, and that's to establish Wood County as a vibrant, diverse community to live, grow, work, and play, and get that messaging out to others, right? So a lot of people feel that we're already there and we have lots of assets, but maybe we could shore up how we're getting that message out to not only visitors, but potential future residents. So broadband has been discussed recently, and you've been successful already in getting some grants towards that initiative, but there's certainly more to do there. Addressing housing needs and starting with identifying what those needs are through housing studies is another initiative under that goal. Developing a branding strategy, and that's set to kick off in May and run through September. Identifying a centralized website for people to go that are visiting the county or are looking to situate their business or move their business to the county so that they can understand what's happening in the county and what's it all about without having to go to individual websites to try and explore that on their own. And the Visitor and Convention Bureaus are taking the lead on that strategy. And then along the same lines, compiling an outdoor recreational map that's more inclusive. So it too will be one-stop shopping. If you're going to camp in an area, you can see nearby bicycle and hiking trails, boat launches, etc. So the work groups also felt that there are other initiatives that are already ongoing in the county that are critical to economic development. And they are the county comprehensive plan and conducting an update to that, which is also identified in the county's strategic plan. Incorporating some of the initiatives in the county health improvement plan, as well as initiatives identified in the county energy plan. So they're all kind of coming together there. And I guess that's what we have in a nutshell for you, and we're happy to take any questions that you may have.
Supervisor Lightner?
So Nancy, this is Supervisor Lightner. Thank you for all the work that you and all the people involved in this READY plan have done. And this is just a minor thing, but under quality of place, I just heard you say that the branding strategy would be developed and implemented between May and September of this year. I guess in my mind, I thought that would be ongoing. Maybe I don't quite know the
Mr. Chairman,
definition
if I
of
lost
branding.
my sound here?
I can hear you, Brad.
I can hear you, but I cannot hear the room.
Okay, we'll work on that. Sorry about that, Supervisor Lightner. We'll get this fixed. Maybe.
Oh, you're good, Mr. Chairman.
Can you hear me, Brad?
No, I can hear you just fine.
Fantastic. All right.
Nancy, can you hear?
Yes, now I can.
All right, we'll go back to Supervisor Lightner. Bill, I'm not sure where they lost you. Maybe you want to start over.
Nancy, did you hear anything I said?
No, we lost you just after the presentation.
Okay, so if you're hearing me now, I'll just repeat the brief statement that I made. I started out by thanking you and the whole group for all the work of the past, 16, 18 months. But my specific question was under quality of place. You talked about the branding strategy being implemented, being ongoing between May and September of this year. Maybe I don't understand branding strategy, but in my mind, I thought that would be ongoing. So could you speak to branding strategy for just a moment?
Sure, absolutely. So that we're going to engage with UW Extension Madison professionals that work on marketing an area and defining what is special about that area, which will involve surveying residents and visitors and that sort of thing, right? So it'll be a whole process, not just creating a logo. The county logo would be reviewed and recommendations made if somebody wants to change it. But the idea is to get a more uniform series of messages that can be used by businesses, municipalities, whomever, to engage others in what's special about the county. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It certainly.
Then that messaging would be ongoing, then, I guess is my point.
Yes, absolutely, and refreshed as needed, but I guess as a part of marketing, I'm not a marketing specialist, but according to the experts that were helping us develop the plan, it's helpful if there's a series of messages that different entities can choose from so that the similar messages are being passed out to the general public.
Any other questions?
The deliverable from that would be a branding booklet, they call it, that identifies the messages in it that can be shared with others in the county.
Thank you, Nancy. Any other questions from the floor? Jason, you have one.
Oh, I think that's about it. If there's
No other
more
questions? Like I said, a lot of work by a lot of people, spent a lot of hours putting this together, and it was well done. So that brings me to page 176, which is the resolution to adopt.
This will be Resolution 21-4-4 to adopt the Rural Economic Development Plan for Wood County, Wisconsin. Fiscal note, improves eligibility for Wood County to apply for state and federal economic development grant funding opportunities.
I have a motion by Supervisor LaFontaine and a second by Supervisor Clendenning. Any discussion on the resolution? Any discussion? All right, I ask you to please vote. And then those of you who are...
Hamilton, aye.
Hamilton, yes.
Bry, yes.
Supervisor Wagner needs some technical assistance.
It kicked me out and won't reconnect.
Well, you see the door.
Did they get all the voice votes there, Trent?
Yes, you did. Okay, we're just waiting on it.
All right, all you virtual attendees are in. We got all of those.
To speed up the vote, I'll vote aye verbally for you if you wish.
Can you do that? All right. Thank you, Supervisor Wagner. And that resolution passed unanimously. Thank you. All right, back to the packet, beginning on page 177 and running through page 180 is minutes of the Judicial and Legislative Committee meeting of March 16th. Again, that's 177 through 180. On 182 and 183, Criminal Justice Task Force minutes from March 17th, and that's 182 and 183. We have notice of injury and claim, that's actually on 183. Child Support Agencies monthly update and the reports to that committee on 184. Letter from Corp Counsel to the committee on 185. Criminal Justice Coordinator, 186 and 187. And then that brings me to page 188 and a resolution brought forth by the Judicial and Legislative Committee.
This will be Resolution 21-4-5 to support increases in the 2021-23 state biennial budget to ensure access to critical services provided by ADRCs to Wisconsin's aging and disability populations. Fiscal note, none.
And I have a motion by Clendenning, a second by Zerflu. Discussion. Any discussion on the resolution? Any discussion? All right, I ask you to please vote.
Hamilton, yes.
Bry, yes.
Valentine, yes. Valentine, yes.
We've got that, Laura, and that passed by majority vote. We had Supervisor Fisher voting negative on that. So 18-1. All right. Moving forward in the packet, I got to split this packet because I have a paper. Page 190 in your packet. Minutes of the Highway Infrastructure Recreation Committee of Thursday, April 1st on 190 and 191. We have the monthly letter of comments from the Highway Commissioner on 192 through 196. 192 through 196. Beginning with Director Schoolies from the Parks Department, 197 through 201. And then a big part of this packet was the, as they look at the revisions to the County Forest Comprehensive Land Use Plan that begins on 202 and runs through 292. 202 to 292. Anybody have any questions there? All right, a lot of information there. Not a lot of changes in that, just basically some updates. All right, and back to the packet on page 293, minutes of the Property Information Technology Committee from Monday, April 5th. That's 293, 4, and 5. Monthly letter of comments from the IT department on 296, 7, 8, and 9, 296 through 299. From the facilities manager on 300. Minutes from the Aging Disability Resource Center of Thursday, January 14th on 301 and 302. Their minutes from Thursday, February 11th on 303 and 304. Minutes from their finance. Supervisor Ashbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We were talking something about fair minutes. I was approached before the meeting today about a closed session we had in January, and there was nothing in there what it was about. Now, what is a closed session for? Are we supposed to, we got an issue with one of the employees, are we supposed to reveal that so-and-so come up on the closed session? Is that supposed to come out in public after the meeting? Or what is a closed session? It ain't a closed session anymore if we have to reveal it to the public.
Okay,
You gotta have an answer on that, you know.
let me back up a little bit here. Bob, I'll get to your question here. Let me just finish this. Does anybody have any questions on the ADRC minutes? This is the fair minutes that are coming up right after this. Any questions on the ADRC Finance Committee on 305 and 306? All right, now I'm going to go to the Central Wisconsin State Fair minutes on 307 and 308. No, I think the question is, you need to state what the purpose of the closed session is. And I don't believe that was stated. You can't just say, we're going into closed session. And so that was the question, not what transpired in that closed session, but what it was for. So it's something that maybe the group wants to take under advisement and make sure that they, going forward, work in that direction. Is that a fair assessment, Corp Counsel Castro? Peter shaking his head yes. So that was the question, is you need to identify the purpose of the closed session, and typically the statute under which it falls to allow that. Supervisor Rosar?
So I just have a question about that so we don't get into trouble. Was it on the agenda that, I mean, I didn't see the agenda, I just saw the minutes. Was it on the agenda that the commission was going to go into closed session?
I have no idea. Does anybody?
Trent might know.
I don't remember it being on there, but I could be wrong. Let me go back.
Supervisor Clendon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was in the January meeting that the closed session took. No, there was nothing on the agenda. But in the February meeting, they discussed what they did in the closed meeting. And we don't know how that came about. There was a question, somebody just needs to be educated on how it's done. Thank you.
The process. Thank you, Supervisor Clendon. And that was my point. You need to identify the purpose. You're supposed to state the statute as you go into closed session so people know why you're doing that. You don't have to.
So we have to reveal that we have an issue with one of the employees?
No, you have to state the statute on the agenda that you intend to go into closed session, and that statute has to be stated on the agenda. If they have questions about that in the future, just have them call either Deb Hall or myself, and we can walk them through that.
Supervisor Fisher?
Maybe to simplify this, could we just encourage either Trent as the clerk or Peter as the court counsel to reach out to the fair and encourage them on how to properly notice a closed session?
That's a good idea. I mean, we'll work through this. This becomes an issue occasionally on what I call these, quasi-governmental bodies where you've got a number of members who typically are not elected officials, don't sit in a lot of meetings and might not know what all those rules and regulations are. So we'll try to clean that up, Bob. I hope that answers the question, and we'll make sure they have that contact. All right, so is that everybody good with that at this point? Dennis, you asked the question earlier, Supervisor Pollock. Are you good with?
That's fine.
Okay. All right, so I had the Central Wisconsin State Fair Board minutes of December on 307 and 308, from January on 309 and 310, and from February on 311 through 313. Are there any other questions there? Okay, that takes me to the jail study Ad hoc committee minutes on 314, 315, and 316. Again, I want to, I guess, just plug the group for the work they're doing on that. They're getting into some pretty fine detail as they work their way through this, and I think they've done it in a real orderly fashion. Beginning on page 317 through 336 are various aspects, aerial views, drawings, and other things that would go along with that ad hoc study. Anybody have any questions there? Then that takes me to page 337 and their minutes from April 1st. That's on 337, runs through 345, 337 through 345. South Central Library System Board of Trustee minutes of 225 on page 346, 347, 8, and 9. Supervisor Clendenin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to say something quick. What's going on in the South Central Library System is the fact that Marathon County will probably be joining that system. And they were over in the Appleton area, and they're sorry to see them go. And I think we're happy in the South Central to see them coming aboard. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Clendenin. Any other questions from the packet? All right, that brings me to one last item. I don't even know where I put it. But under presentation of letters, petitions, remonstrances, communications, and other documents, I was asked by the seed committee to put together a letter in regard to support of that Buren landowners group and the village of Buren in their efforts to ask FERC to take a second look at a ruling that was made. I put that letter together. It was forwarded by email to the seed committee, and a copy was put on each supervisor's desk. I guess I could have sent that out under my own name, but I think that it would behoove us to have board support in that effort, as it does lead to increased tax increment and some of the other benefits that we have. So I put that letter together at their request and on your desk. So I guess I'd ask at this time, is there any objection to me forwarding that on to the people at FERC? Any objection, Supervisor Clendenin?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just the fact that it's not on the agenda, for one thing. Just the fact that it's on our desk. What does the public know about this? Are we hiding something from the public? This was a big issue back 7-8 years ago. When we had meetings about this and FERC and what they're doing. There's people out there and the public spent a lot of money making sure that whatever regulations are due. And we're going to just send a letter from this county board authorizing it because, oh, we're going to get more tax money. The last time we tried that was when Marshfield and Wood County decided to develop a housing area in Marshfield because it would bring taxes into us. And we found out that that's not too kosher. We can't do that, so it was never done. And I just think that this is a backdoor approach to it. I think the public should know about this, and I don't think it should come before this committee.
Just to clarify, and I appreciate that opinion, I checked this with Corp Counsel as did the committee chair. This isn't asking any money or anything else from the board, it's just saying to FERC, can you take a second look at this? We're not sure that that was done in the first place correctly. So I do have an objection from Supervisor Clendenin. Is there anybody else who objects? Doesn't appear so. So then I would guess I'd ask by voice vote, is the board in favor of me forwarding this letter off to the secretary at FERC? All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
No.
Aye.
Okay, so I had a 18-1 vote, I believe. Is that correct? You got first vote. Okay, that gets me through the packet. Is there anything else that needs to come before the board?
So I have a question.
You can
Point
ask.
of order, point of order. So I see, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I see that our county clerk just put on here, passed by voice vote. What was passed? We didn't have a motion or a second or anything. We just kind of, was that just
Just
a
confirmation
consensus? Is that the way we do things? Is just,
Well, I can back up.
I don't know. I mean, and maybe I could ask court counsel for some clarification, but I thought before you voted on something, you needed a motion on the floor.
Well, I'm not.
I'll second the chairman's motion. Okay.
All right, run back up.
Okay.
All right, so are you making a motion to forward it so we can?
Yeah, I can do that.
Second by Supervisor Zerflug. Let's try it this way. Any discussion, any further discussion? Again, all in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All right, and opposed? Bill? Okay. All right, so that was an 18-1 vote, and we'll forward that off. And like I said, all we're asking for is them to take a look at this. Anything else that needs to come before the board? Anything else? Our next meeting is scheduled for May 18th. We've got a lot of things going right now. Jail study, we're getting into that budget season. Trent, I know you wanted to touch base on something.
If I may, very shortly, you're going to be getting the invitation for the WCA annual conference, which is in La Crosse this year, from September 26th through the 28th. If you are interested in going, first come, first serve, let me know, and I'll get you registered, and we'll be working on hotels bright and early on May 3rd when they open up the bookings.
And I did have a conversation with Steve O'Malley, their administrator, as well as Monica Cruz, their board chair. They intend to be full speed ahead, live event. And we've been having these updates basically on a weekly basis, I guess, as to how we proceed in that direction. So I think we're looking good there. Nothing else? Stick around? All right, then I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.